Shopify reports that there are approximately 50 million digital content creators worldwide. If you fall into this category, I want to pose two questions to you. Are you looking for a way to monetize your content faster than traditional media? And would you benefit from a way to reach your loyal fans on a more consistent and regular basis? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then TrueFanz may be a platform you may consider exploring. Tim Branyan is the founder and CEO of TrueFanz. He's also a USAF combat veteran, a software and technology executive who joined me this week to tell me more about TrueFanz and how the software and tech space can be more inclusive and profitable for everyone. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Welcome you to the program, and I'm excited to learn all about your journey in business. Great to be with you this morning, buddy, and thank you so very much for being here.
Glad to be here again. Thanks for the opportunity, Kevin. And I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tim, tell me all about TrueFanz, buddy, and what it's all about, and how you spend your time during your day job. I'm curious, buddy.
Yeah. So my job inside of TrueFanz is really, again, we were just talking about this a minute ago, get out of the way of the really smart people, get out of the way of the really good people that are in their individual roles. But I'm always looking to create new features and new functionalities. I'll kind of step back a little bit and explain at a higher level what TrueFanz is. And really how it started was there was a lot of problems historically, like content creators were severely underpaid. And additionally, they were almost like forgotten or cast aside. So people are being demonetized. Again, I'll mention, people don't make enough. Like on YouTube alone, you have to have millions of views to make like a few grand in some cases. And we saw that was a problem. So we built TrueFanz as a platform to help content creators get paid to post. So it becomes their own membership site where they can set a subscription. They can sell upsells, whether it's course material, whether it's their behind the scenes footage. Even then, let's take this case, right? Like if you had a TrueFanz account, TrueFanz platform, all of your subscribers, they might find that the last 10% of this podcast, or even the first 10% of this podcast, when you and I were just talking, maybe isn't on camera, the behind the scenes stuff. So you as a content creator, it gives you the tools and infrastructure to get paid to post. At its highest, like that's a big 10,000 foot overview.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a more practical way to sort of get your message across if you're a content creator. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
And Tim, I'm curious to get your thoughts on how content creators can use their gifts to sort of become more, to take their content and transform it into income faster, I guess. What would be your insights there, buddy? I'm curious.
I think some of it has to do with the flip of the switch, like giving themselves permission. And oftentimes what we see is let's say somebody brand new comes to the platform, and let's say, they're a musician or a painter or even a model. They're good at creating content, but they haven't become this hybrid of like entrepreneur creator. They're not thinking about monetization in a lot of cases. They're getting maybe a large amount of push notifications for likes and comments, but they're not monetizing that influence, not monetizing that reach. So I think how people, and oftentimes because of that, because they're not monetizing, things are slow because they have to work a full-time job, or their attention has to be other places, so they can't focus 100% on their creative craft. So a lot of them, initially start out with like a 9-to-5 job. So I think the fastest way for somebody to, start monetizing their content is realize that they are a brand, realize that they are, in some form e-commerce in a way, and start treating their personal brand, their business, like a business, their content like a business in some capacity. Not to take away from the creativity, right? But find that balance between, creating income and creating your content.
And
you can do it full time.
Yeah, looking at your content as the product that you're trying to deliver to the masses, right?
Right, absolutely. And a lot of coaches that we've met, we've got different coaches, whether they're teaching people how to cook food, or they're teaching people how to trade in the forex markets or the stock markets. Some of them struggle to figure out, okay, what do I charge for this? What is it worth? So we help with things like that, right? When somebody's onboarding, we show them, or we get them thinking about, okay, what's the result of what you do? How is it impacting somebody? You're selling the result. That's what you're putting the price tag on, is that.
Yeah, and to make a more practical example, Shark Tank, I think it's now been on the air for like 13 or 14 years now, and they always talk about what problem are you solving to get to an end goal of making money. Like, how do you get return customers to come back to consume your product or buy your product? So, in the form of content creating, I'm curious to ask you, buddy, your thoughts on how you can get your audience to continue to come back to consume the content or the product you're trying to sell.
Yeah, so like as a creator, how do you keep people engaged or on that subscription, right? Is that kind of the question?
Yeah, how do you keep people coming back? Absolutely.
Right. So I think, the world where some people enjoy the philanthropic part of it, like they want to see you win. So they'll cast their dollars as their vote to see you do that, and they'll remain on a subscription just because they like you. Just because that they may not even consume the content. I think that there's a world where those type of people exist. They do it because they like what you do, they like who you are, and they're part of your inner circle, your tribe, if you will. They're a true fan, is what we would say. Then there's some people that are getting the result that you're giving. So one use case of a content creator, maybe they're a personal trainer, right? And that person has a weight loss goal, or that person has a fitness goal. And inside of that, the subscriber inside of that person's channel stays and sticks on a residual subscription, because they're getting content, they're getting maybe support and feedback, they're getting motivation. They have a channel where it's maybe it's a workout group, there's other people, right, that are encouraging one another. It becomes this community. So I think community is another one. And then connectiveness. Some people need connection. Some people need friendships and relationships. That's another component of it. We give content creators the ability, some that are maybe harder to reach. We give them the ability to direct message their inner circle subscribers, their true fans. And for some of those subscribers, it's probably really awesome to be able to send a message and have it seen, and have this inner circle kind of connection or dialogue. So there's a lot of different reasons, I think, why people stick and stay. But ultimately, that gets into the creativity and the mindset of the creator. What value they're giving to earn that residual income. Does that make sense? Like, how are they setting up their channel to be continuity?
Yeah, absolutely. And creating a consistent message for sure. And Tim, I'm curious to ask you about the success of TrueFanz as a platform. Like, have you seen a return on the investment since you started the platform? How many people are using it, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we were profitable within the first, I think, 2.5, 3 months, which is a blessing. We got lucky in a sense. We started right when, we were finished and launched right before COVID happened. So a lot of people use this as a life preserver, whether they were comedians, whether they were musicians, whether they were, again, models, people that had lost opportunity to travel around. They needed an online means. A lot of people, even now, more than ever, are looking at e-commerce or looking at ways to adapt. Those that don't adapt in business often get left behind. That's the fact. So we were fortunate to be done with our platform and be able to onboard folks and help them in that time. But where we are now, and let me explain. So I don't think I did a really great job explaining a little bit about us. So we are very similar to like an OnlyFans or a Patreon. The biggest difference to us is that we're 100% invite only for content creators. So not just anybody can join; they have to apply or be invited by an existing creator. We pay more, we pay faster. We actually have instant payments. I don't think any other, one of our competitors have that yet. We're USA based. I'm a veteran, so I'm proud vet owned company. And, we've got excellent customer support because we have a smaller creator audience. We can handle everybody really white glove and 5-star. And then we don't allow adult content. So we became a home for people that would love to have a membership site or a fan site, but didn't want the connotation of the adult industry. So that's where we stamped our flag. And now, just to to answer your question and explain where we're at now, about 2 years has passed. We've got a little over 190,000 some odd users across the world. We're processing payments in like 133 different currencies. We're in 42 different countries. It's exciting. We've become this, and we really are listening with the intent to engineer. Our goal is to become the logical choice platform for creators. And in order for us to do that, we think that we have to listen with the intent to serve all those different unique creators, right? Whether they're musicians, whether they're podcasters, whether they're, a lot of people have different needs and wants as far as features and functions. So it's been really fun. I know it's a long-winded way of answering that question, but that's kind of where we're at now, and we're super grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tim, I know that you're also an investor as well. And I'm curious, when you look to invest in other or projects or people, what do you look to invest in? And I know that you also have experience developing a multi-million dollar software sort of companies and carving out a niche for yourself in that regard. So talk to me about investment money and what you look for when you invest.
Right. So so if we're talking about crypto, it's a crazy world right now in cryptocurrencies investing, but I'm always trying to look for utility. I'm always trying to look for what is solving problems. At the end of the day, that's what makes money is, products and teams that solve people's problems. You're paid in direct proportion for your ability to, with your ability to solve problems. So like in the crypto world, I'm looking for things that have, the opportunity to disrupt large markets. And then the team that, I don't think are just good writers. I think that a team that has a track record of seeing things to the finish line and really achieving what they set out to do. And those, you can dig into characteristics, but I really, and then on the flip side of that, when I'm looking at when we choose to build apps or software with people, and maybe there's a partnership dynamic, or they want a reduced rate, so we discuss what an hourly cost would be in that sense. I'm looking at characteristics. I don't really care if somebody has a certain degree or if somebody has been given a certificate of some sort. I need to know that they've got consistency, grit. I need to know that they won't quit when things get tough. They got to be a little crazy, to do even like what you did. You did 400 episodes, man. I mean, most people would probably quit after, I don't know the statistic, but probably after like 10, 30, they get, as soon as it starts to become a grind, right? So I'm looking for people that have consistency, discipline, and the characteristics of success.
Yeah, anything worth having doesn't come easy. Would you agree with that, buddy?
Oh man, yeah, 100%. You're right.
And I know you mentioned earlier that you were a combat veteran, buddy. So first and foremost, thank you for your service. And tell me, buddy, I'm curious, what sort of an impact did that segment or time period of your life have on you, buddy?
Yeah. So first and foremost, you thanked me for my service. I want to thank you for yours. And what I mean by that is you are living proof that you can do anything you set your mind to do. You can do anything, you know what I mean? And you're pursuing this freedom of, having your own show and interviewing people. And who knows the ripple effects of like what this has done in other people's lives, right? So salute to you. That's the best way to thank a veteran, in my opinion, at least for me, is when people are pursuing their freedoms despite the naysayers, despite the obstacles. Like, that's really cool to me. So thank you, for your service, Kevin. Before I even answer the rest of the question, I appreciate you, man. Truly.
Well, I appreciate that, buddy, and thanks for those kind words. And I'm also curious on when we talk about your service, buddy, what sort of an impact in terms of how you pursue the rest of your professional or personal life did your time in the service have on you, buddy?
Yeah. So I grew up really quick in the military. I joined when I was 18 years old. I deployed when I was almost 19, like towards the end of my 18th birthday. I deployed. I went to Iraq. I've flown over Afghanistan. I've been, shot at, thank God, not in direct combat, but, mortars, indirect fire, and, the psychological stuff that goes on when you live in the hood like that for a while. I've hurdled those obstacles. I haven't defined myself as someone with a, I haven't taken ownership of like, I'm Tim Branyan, I have PTSD. I would never do that. I charge through my obstacles or various hurdles in life. I've always been that way. Maybe I'm too stubborn, but that's something that the military kind of refined even further for me. And then additionally, man, just like service before self mentality. I always look, whether it's in business or in life, I'm always trying to just see where I can help and play a position in that mission. Whether it's like, in business, whether it's in the city that I live, where can I contribute? I try to do what I can with what I have right where I'm at.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that when you do stuff for other people, the rewards you get, in my view, multiply twofold. So I agree with you there, bud.
Yeah. I just want to, so it's like, it's about fulfillment for me. Like I've been fortunate and blessed to make larger amounts of money, like even as a younger guy. And I got to positions in life where I was like still restless and discontent. I wasn't happy when I had a large amount of money. And I had to discover what I enjoy about entrepreneurialism. I had to discover what I like and really what my target goals are, like what I want to achieve. And for me, man, it's impact. Like I'm way more motivated by, you know, starting an entrepreneurial sort of like co-working space or building a sanctuary for veterans in the future, like using my money to build a bigger table and create opportunities is something that even the sound of that, like saying that, is fulfilling in my head. So that's ultimately like where I'm going is try to exchange profit for purpose long term. Obviously setting up my kids and my family is important, but long term, man, I want to make an impact. And that's just, that's just kind of, I think the military provided some of that too, just that desire.
Yeah, paying it forward is the easiest way to sort of achieve instant fulfillment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, I'm curious to ask you your thoughts on the notion of being aggressively curious. And what I mean by that is always having a spirit to learn, grow, and inspire to a better version of yourself. What do you think the definition of that is?
I've always just wanted to know how things work, whether we're talking about hardware, like your phone, for instance, like how does touchscreen work? How does the battery work? How is it sending electrical impulses to, like, how do headphones work? Just everything. I've always just been aggressively curious. And then when you take that same aggressive curiosity to, other parts of life, when I saw somebody with a really big house or a nice house or a really nice car as a kid, I always immediately thought to myself, and this at this time, I'm young, what do they work? What do they do for work? What do they? I was never jealous or angry or felt like left out. I was never like naturally a hater. I was always like really curious. Like, what are you reading? As I got older, I realized that it was characteristics and it was their network and it was their work ethics in a lot of cases. How those people attain larger amounts of money and their knowledge, right? But aggressive curiosity, I think, is something that um, will just help somebody have a better life in general, especially if you're in a hard spot, if you're restless and discontent, and you start having aggressive curiosity on how you can change your situation. You start looking for ways. You find, instead of shrinking and cowering, right? You look for opportunities to solve that puzzle. And so, yeah, that's what it means to me, is just always wondering and being curious about how things work and why things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tim, just as a follow-up, as you know from watching some of the episodes of the show, I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy, and I'm always looking for ways to help people promote a sort of inclusive culture for folks with physical and mental and psychological disabilities. So I'm curious, in that context, how do you think we can create a more inclusive business and societal culture for folks with disabilities?
I think first it's understanding. Like, even like right now, you're my first friend that I can't even repeat what you said as far as like how you said what Sarah Polite. That's a big word for me.
Spastic quadriplegia, it's a big
Yeah.
word.
So so while you understand that, not only like the word itself, the definition, but from a first person perspective, I do not. I'm ignorant of that until we develop a relationship, until it's okay, until we give ourselves permission to even do that at an authentic level. I think once that's established, then we can start figuring out how the other thinks, how the other operates, the other's needs. And that's when we can create environments. That's when we can create opportunities and find out, various roles and positions that make the most sense, right? As far as like contributing positions. And I think like, yeah, that's just, I'm ignorant on that question because I just don't have, we just met, right? And I don't have unfortunately I don't have a whole lot of experience with that disability, but I am even like going back to being aggressively curious. I'm genuinely curious. You know what I mean? Like how what it's like, what it's been like, how it is, um, and maybe even reversing that question. What are your thoughts initially on that? Right?
Yeah, in terms of my perspective and the lived experience, but I always try to break down what I call attitudinal barriers, the way people's attitudes are towards disability. And one of the reasons I wanted to start the podcast is it's another vehicle of education and conversation because people don't know, like I said, people don't know what they don't know. So the more vehicles we can create to sort of bridge the gap of division and increase the prosperity of unity is what I'm all about, but I'm always trying to help other people maximize their fullest potential. And sometimes you have to do that through education and conversation. For sure.
Would you say that you are more rare in the category of folks that have your disability? Like for like you have what's the word? You have the boldness to do what you're doing right now? Would you say that some people would be shy to do the things that you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Tim, that earlier in my life, I suffered a lot from social isolation just because of the nature of the disability. I wasn't able to do as much as other people. So what I always tell people is that everyone's portrait of success is different, and we're all trying to strive towards a different goal, towards the same prosperity. But the difference is when you have a disability, you attack life from a different perspective. So I always tell people to embrace their disability because when I do speaking engagements, Tim, I tell people that there isn't a 50% off policy when you have a disability. It's not like you can return to a store, right? So I always try to tell people to celebrate their differences.
Yeah, I love that. So what does the world look like in your mind when that goal is accomplished? Like when people, put down their barriers, right? Let's just call them their barriers or their apprehensions, or even like take the chance to, talk with you sincerely. Like what's a world like that look like? Like
Yeah,
what progress, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's cool to think about.
Yeah, to answer your question, I think so. Just very briefly, so the specific portion or type of a cerebral palsy I have. So I live in Canada, so it affects 1 in 500 babies, right? So I think when we look at inclusion, diversity, and equity, I always say that talent is an equally distributable commodity. However, opportunities for advancement isn't always like readily available to other people with disabilities or people with disabilities in general. So to answer your question, I think it's when we come to a point in society where we're no longer judging people because they have an impairment, and we're only simply judging them on the merit of their abilities, uh,
Mm,
regardless of whether or not they have a disability or not.
I love that, man. We need that in a lot of different aspects nowadays. Like not even just in the disability. Like I think aggressive curiosity might help, might even help that, if people were genuinely curious. Like my question is, have you noticed that you have advantages with disabilities? Like you have a disability. Are there some cases where it's been advantageous, like in the workforce or, just
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind, Tim, is when I get on airplanes. I'm the first one to get on, so I get prime time seating because when I get on an airplane, I get into something called an aisle chair. Have you heard of it before?
no. Mm-mm.
So an aisle chair it's kind of like a high chair, and
Yeah.
I feel like an astronaut every time I'm in one of these things because there's so many straps to it. So they put you in this chair where you have to sit like straight up where you fall out of the thing. But they put you in this chair and they put you in a million different straps, and then they roll you down the aisle to your seats. Now, primarily, one of the advantages is the security people who pushed you, depending on how much you weigh, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it depends on where your seat is in the plane. Sometimes when people don't show up or they know that they're not on the plane, they get prime time seating because they don't want to push you all the way to the back of the plane. So flying first class without flying first class is an advantage. No, I'm only kidding. But to answer your question in a more broader sense, I think the advantage that it brings when you have a disability is an increased perspective of uh, your inclusive voice and how you look at the world from a different perspective. We talked earlier about solving problems and being innovative. When you have a disability, you solve problems and you're innovative during every aspect of your life. So it provides you with a better perspective on how to attack what life means to you and sort of redefining your priorities and how you contribute to the greater good, to a better tomorrow. I know
Wow.
that's a
That's
long.
what I wanted. No. That's perfect. That's what I was looking for. Honestly, it was just like, and that's wonderful, man. I love that you said that. It's super motivating, and it helps me. Yeah, that was a wonderful. I'm glad it was long winded.
Yeah, I tend to. One of the things I was accused in journalism school was writing a novel for every answer. So I appreciate your acceptance of my longevity of answers, Tim. It's most appreciated.
Sometimes it's needed. I don't think we should ever time ourselves on when you're in the flow of describing, or maybe there's improvements to be made everywhere, but I want to always be cautious of you know trying to just think about the time, because sometimes it takes time to really cast your message, or finish your point, especially if you're a deep thinker, which sounds like you definitely are when it comes to both writing and speaking.
Well, I appreciate that, buddy. And one of the final questions I had for you, buddy, is how did you define innovation in terms of when you meet people that have uh, creative ideas on life and perspective and products? How do you define creative innovation? I'm curious.
I think it's, in simple form, it's solving problems. It's looking at the world and seeing puzzles that need solved. So like even in this conversation right now, I was thinking, like, is our platform set up for like literally some people on our platform speak completely different languages. So that was a problem that we needed to solve. We weren't able to help people that were that were speaking Spanish, that were speaking Portuguese. So we had to translate, right? The platform in a multitude of different languages. The other thing too that I'm thinking about even now, just having this conversation at the forefront of my mind, like with disabilities and people that come from different walks of life. I haven't originally thought, there's some people that are deaf, and they can only read, right? They can't hear, and to have subtitles even like on the videos, like that is an option. Like I don't think we have that even like right now, and I feel like we're missing out if we don't include or be thinking of inclusiveness in our UI design, user experience design. Like as a software company, I don't tend to think first about I think about people like me, that by the grace of God, I don't have some of these obstacles or puzzles to solve as far as disabilities. And, so that's getting back to the question. I think creative innovation comes from empathy. And I think it comes from curiosity that is service oriented. Does that make sense? Like service oriented curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely, and that can take on many different forms of a definition for many people. But and one of the questions I had for you, not only as a technology executive and as someone in business, but also as a dad, social media and media in general has certainly taken on a life of its own. And I know that you believe that there may be a sort of a gap of where traditional media is serving people and where it isn't. So I'm curious, as a dad and a creative software individual, what do you think traditional media is meeting the moment and missing the moment?
So I think that we live in the information age for sure. There's so much out there. How you use it, whether you are the tool or you're using it as a tool, is the individual's choice. You can search for funny cat memes, or you can swipe on TikTok all day long and get trapped into the algorithm and get trapped into your For You page. Or you can use the internet and ask really great questions that'll likely give you the answers to on the first page, about how to build a shed, about how to lose weight. There's so many how-tos and over-the-shoulder pieces of content. I believe that this question is more like we need to ask ourselves as individuals: are we using the information? Are we using the tools correctly, or are we addicted? Are we, are we a tool because we're being used by the algorithms, we're being used by the platforms, and that's a tough conversation to have with yourself. um, Even me as an individual, I fall victim to being on social media and becoming mindless and not using it for the main thing that I set out to use it for. You get distracted. There's an endless sea of content. So instead of waffling in the ocean, you should use it to chart your course. And that's kind of my take on that question. Hopefully that answers it a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as a quick follow-up, I'm also wondering your thoughts on the influence it's having on today's kids, and whether you think they're getting too consumed by traditional and social media.
Yeah. So my son is 3 and my daughter's a year and a half, and this is a conversation my wife and I have about, do we give them screen time, and do we, we're just trying to find that balance right now. I think that, and we definitely do filter some of the content that they watch. We don't want them to watch just anything and everything. Typically it's, shows that are educational, and they've learned a ton. Again, it can be used as a great tool to facilitate learning and a great tool to facilitate new information. But I think us, we'll just put it this way, us as parents, like, we are watching the content and extracting the message, or extracting what we think the results will be first, and then we deliver that to our children. Kind of like, we look at media and content like it has a nutritional fact on it, like nutritional supplements. So I think if a lot of people did that, they wouldn't consume the type of music some do, or the type of media some do. If you look at it like it's got a nutritional facts label. So we try to do the same thing with our kids, while still understanding they're going to grow up in VR. I mean, they're going to grow up in, professional. You can get a scholarship to college now being a gamer. It's totally different, and they're in school with iPads, so he has to know how to operate technology. We're not just going to take it away and give him a stick and a tire. He's growing up in a different world, so we want him to be well equipped to use the tools, but we do want him to have a balance of, the correct media, just have a good relationship with technology and media, which a lot of us need to regulate.
Yeah, competitive balance is always an ongoing thing for sure. And Tim, my final question for you, buddy, is I'm curious. You talked a little bit earlier on how you wanted to be defined as a person. So I'll ask you finally, um, when you look at your individual and personal legacy, and you had to describe it in 1 or 2 sentences, how do you think you would want it to be defined by?
Like, for me personally,
Yes, both personally and professionally.
I think when I go, and when it's my time to transition, I want people to celebrate the things that were accomplished, and I want the message to be that he did his best, and he was a really good dude. That's simple. I just want people to say, man, we lost a good one. Tim
Yeah,
transitioned to somewhere. I want to be a good guy.
yeah, oh, absolutely. That's profound and certainly a noble thing to aspire to, for sure. And Bonnie, finally, tell me if people want to get connected with you personally or TrueFanz, what's the best way they can do that, Bon?
Yeah. So if you're interested, if you're a content creator, somebody that that should be monetizing their content, you can go to TrueFanz.com and you can apply there for access. That'll submit an application to our team. They'll review it, and typically, if it's approved, they'll schedule a welcome call and help you get set up. They'll learn about them, right? Help them, monetizing their specific audience and brand. And then, if you want to get in touch with me directly, it's Tim Branyan, Tim Brandyan on LinkedIn. You can find me on TikTok. My website should be done here in the next couple of weeks. It's timbranyan.com. That's where, if they want to get in touch about software, they have an app idea, or they want to, there'll be all sorts of different things that they want to get on a call. But that's how you get in touch with me or us.
Well, fantastic, Tim. I know we've had an extensive, but hopefully informative and engaging conversation. I really want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me today, Bonnie, and your time, energy, and effort in the space and on my behalf. I'm most appreciated. Great to meet you, Bonnie, and thanks again for the time.
Really appreciate it, Kevin. It's truly been a pleasure, and I'm glad to be friends now.